The High Court has ruled that the Metropolitan Police breached the rights of protesters of the planned Sarah Everard vigil in the way that they handled the event. The vigil was organised by group Reclaim the Streets and was planned as a socially distanced event near to where she went missing in Clapham last March. 4 women who founded Reclaim the Streets were forced to withdraw from organising the vigil after police threatened them with £10,000 fines and possible prosecution if the planned event went ahead. But police were screwed anyway after a spontaneous vigil and protest took place. A 2-day hearing at the High Court in January heard Jessica Lee, Anna Burley, Henna Shah and Jamie Klingler argue that decisions made by the force in advance of the planned vigil amounted to a breach of their human rights to freedom of speech and assembly, and say the force did not assess the potential risk to public health. Lord Justice Warby and Mr Justice Holgate handed down their judgment yesterday, where they ruled in favour of Reclaim the Streets in that the Met's decision in the run-up to the event was not in accordance with the law. Reclaim the Streets solicitor Theodora Middleton said in a statement outside the Royal Courts of Justice, "Today's judgment is a victory for women. Last March, women's voices were silenced. Today's judgment conclusively shows that the police were wrong to silence us." Well, they weren't exactly silenced, were they? Let's be fair. There was still a big event, and I'm pretty sure it got quite a lot of coverage. Co-founder Jamie Klingler said, "Every step of the way there was just condescension with disrespect, and the police were telling us their hands were tied." She said, "We hope that the new commissioner is a visionary who really prioritises getting rid of the systemic racism, sexism and homophobia in the force." Patsy Stephen, the redhead who was arrested in a very public fashion that many people called a shill, said, "As soon as I found out, I just burst into tears. It's a huge win, and it just shows we should have been able to do it and that the police were in the wrong. That's what we've been saying the whole time, but no one listened or understood." In their summary, Lord Justice Warby said, "None of the force's decisions was in accordance with the law. The evidence showed that the force failed to perform its legal duty to consider whether the claimants might have a reasonable excuse for holding the gathering, or to conduct the fact-specific proportionality assessment required in order to perform that duty." Of course, not wanting to look beat, the Metropolitan Police defended their claim against the action taken and said there was no exception for protests in the coronavirus rules at the time, and that it had no obligations to assess the public health risk. But you're quite happy walking into supermarkets and assessing the health risk there and fining and arresting people. Well done. In a statement after the ruling, the Metropolitan Police said it was considering very carefully whether it should appeal. Metropolitan Police Assistant Commissioner Louisa Rolfe said, "The Met is mindful that this judgment has potential implications in other circumstances for how a proportionality assessment is to be carried out when considering enforcement action. This may apply beyond policing the pandemic. Even in the context of the regulations that kept us safe during the pandemic, this may have important consequences." The Met unreservedly endorses the principle that fundamental freedoms, such as those exercised by the claimants in this case, may only be restricted where it is necessary and proportionate for a lawful purpose. Consideration of an appeal is in no way indicative that the Met do not consider such protections to be of the utmost importance. It is, however, incumbent on the Met to ensure that this judgment does not unduly inhibit its ability, and that of police forces across the country, to effectively balance competing rights in a way that is operationally deliverable. Plenty of word salad there from Metropolitan Police Assistant Commissioner Louisa Rolfe. Nothing less than I would expect. Simply now trying to make out that the court have made a decision that could potentially affect members of the public because the police may not be able to carry out its duties to keep people safe. Which is obviously a load of horse shit, because there was plenty of BLM protests and whatnot going on at the time, and they were more than happy for that to happen, weren't they? Big thank you to channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.